Hello, good afternoon and welcome to this pre-event webinar on Cosmoprof Bologna. My name is Mike Patey. I'm from the Hairdressing and Beauty Suppliers Association, and welcome to all of you that are joining us at the moment. Apologies for the slightly late start, but we had a couple of technical difficulties, but we hopefully will make up the time as we go along. The main theme of this webinar is the role of the DIT with specific reference to Italy, and also the DIT trade show programme, which is to do with making the most of either visiting or exhibiting Cosmoprof Bologna. The exhibition and events industry has been hard hit during the pandemic. Organisers have been scheduling, rescheduling, negotiating, renegotiating probably every 3 months for the last 2 years. So it's been a very difficult time. Omicron, earlier part of this year, has affected a huge number of events which have been either postponed or cancelled. So it's great news that an exhibition such as Cosmoprof is going ahead. The doors will open on the 28th of April. Research recently out also shows that Zoom-weary delegates appear keen to return and enjoy the face-to-face environment. So we wish Cosmoprof Bologna all the best success. I'd like to say thank you to all the speakers this afternoon as well. We're going to start with a short recording from Catriona Graham. Catriona is the British Consul General and DIT Country Director of the DIT for Italy. Marina Earmunger and Alex Barbagallo are from DIT Italy, and they'll be looking at the overview of their work of the DIT in that region. We'll then go on to Nico Shaw-Nunes from the Cosmetic, Toiletries and Perfumery Association, who will be looking at the regulatory considerations when trading between the UK and the EU. Francesca Bulgarini and Samantha Raimondi are here from the Cosmoprof exhibition show. They're the organisers, and they'll give us a first-hand update of the exhibition and more specifically some information on the UK pavilion. I'll be giving a quick update on tips and advice for exhibitors at the exhibition, and then Stuart Whitehill from the Greater Birmingham Chamber of Commerce from the Overseas Fairs Division will give us some tips and advice for visitors to the exhibition. In terms of questions, if you have any questions, we've got quite a few people on the call, but if you have any questions, please put them in the chat room, and then we'll go through them at the end, and hopefully we'll answer all your questions. So without further ado, we'll go straight into Catriona Graham's welcome address, which is a pre-recording. Thank you.
There is no sound. We can't hear. We can't hear.
We come back. Okay, to line up. Apologies for that. I think we don't have any sound coming through, so we're just going to have a look at that technical hitch. But I think in the meantime, we'll just jump through to the next speakers, which are Marina and Alex from the DIT in Italy. So we'll just bring up their presentation, and maybe Marina and Alex can give us an update of the work that they're doing in Italy.
Yes, I'm happy. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to welcome you on this webinar, which is an important webinar in view of the next edition of Cosmoprof. I would like to introduce myself. First of all, I am Senior Trade Advisor responsible for consumer goods, especially sustainable consumption at DIT Italy, the Department for International Trade Italy office based in Milan. The consumer and retail trade team in Milan has a sustainable packaging trade advisor, Viviana Coppola, and a cosmetics, toiletry and perfumery trade advisor, Alex Barbagallo. With them, we are a very active team, and I have worked for the cosmetics, toiletries and perfumery industry for over 20 years. So my team and myself are quite dedicated to the sector. Next slide, please. What can we do? What can the IT consumer and retail trade team do? If we move on to the next slide, first of all, we can organize B2B introduction to you. Business introductions can be to distributors, agents, buyers, external partners, industry stakeholders. This is the main activity that we carry out in Italy, and we can also connect you with other Europe teams because we are a network of consumer trade advisors across Europe. Increasingly, we are introducing British companies to e-commerce platforms because since the pandemic, we have identified key stakeholders also in e-commerce. And cosmetics products are increasingly sold on e-commerce platforms in Italy. We can give you business intelligence. We can provide updated and verified information on Italian market trends and stakeholders. We can identify market opportunities, researching on the internet, reading the press, attending conferences and symposia on the sector, and we can forward relevant information to British companies. We have set up a market access center across Europe with market access officers. And also Italy will soon have a dedicated market access officer who can support with all the inquiries coming from UK exporters regarding customs regulations and entry to Italy. This has been an increasingly hot subject for many exporters, especially in the cosmetics and beauty sector. We can also add value to your brand, to your marketing activities on behalf of group of companies or on behalf of the whole industry through our institutional social media, but also our personal social media profiles. Both Consul General and myself have a lot of followers on LinkedIn and Instagram. So we can use social media. We can also organize introductions to journalists and media in general on the occasion of important events. And we can also organize product showcases or pop-up shops on special occasions which are relevant to DIT Europe, such as clean growth events, technology events, or institutional celebrations. I would like to introduce Alex Barbagallo, who within my team works on the cosmetics, beauty and toiletries sector, who has done some research on the Italian market and the EU-UK trade. To you, Alex, the floor.
Thank you, Marina, for the introduction, and thank you all for being connected today. I would like to start and dive into data straight away. We start with the market size. Thank you for the slide. Well, in 2020, we all know COVID-related restrictions strongly impacted the markets and figures, so that sales went down to 9.8 billion in Italy. In 2021, however, we saw that the market showed signs of recovery, and it grew by 8.1%, up to 10.6 billion euros in Italy itself. The first data of 2022 showed already, which were gathered by Cosmetica Italia, the category association in Italy, the main one, which always gives the updated data and will do so during Cosmoprof next year. Next month. Well, by this data, they confirm the positive trends, meaning that in 2022 we're expecting a full recovery. So the sales will go back to pre-pandemic levels, basically, which is great news. Now, let's have a look at the distribution channels, and we can see that from this breakdown that mass market is leading the way in market share with a 42.4% of the total market share, followed by perfumeries and pharmacies, respectively with 17.8% and 17.4% of the total share. And here I wanted to emphasize the position of the e-commerce, that it now comes fourth in terms of sales in the distribution channel breakdown, with an 8.2% of total sales. By the same breakdown, we can see also that professional channels were hit quite heavily in 2020, but the estimated variance shows that there is a recovery, a really strong recovery. As you can see, hair salons by 22%, beauty salons by 28%. And this is really a really important data. Now, in this, the following slide shows you the market composition. Macro categories first. Skin and body care leads the way with a business volume in 2020 of 3.3 billion euros, followed by personal hygiene with 2 billion euros, and then haircare, makeup, alcohol-based perfumery. Now, we can go more into the details, category by category, but I want to highlight the fact that I will send you these slides afterwards so that you can have a look at each category, each single data, which is not worth it now cover in such details. We just go through the first categories sold in Italy, which are, no, sorry, can I have the previous? Thank you very much, which are face skincare, body creams and lotions, body hygiene products, hair care, and so on. What I wanted to highlight here is that customers changed behavior during the lockdown, of course. In fact, anti-contamination measures led to an increasing use of skincare products, particularly multitasking products, ice products, as well as liquid soaps. And I mean, it all makes sense, of course. On the other hand, we can see a decrease in the use of cosmetics for lips. So we don't know what was going to happen, you know, in 2021, 2022. Things may change according to, you know, the measure taken by governments. If we go to the next slide, we have again a breakdown of consumption. Here, I will send you the slides afterwards so that you can have a look at each single category. But what I wanted to point out is that women account for 76% of total sales, and the rest 24%, the remaining 24%, of course, is represented by men. If we go to the next slide, please. Perfect. Here, you also have the breakdown category by category. And then we go to the next slide again. Thank you. And we talk about opportunities. One word for all, sustainability, which means a lot, of course, we all know. And that's why I use a report by Quantis to understand what it means in terms of sustainability within the customers' behavior in the cosmetics industry. And therefore, we can see that 78% of consumers, when purchasing the product, prefer plastic-free packaging. And that's the first information. We then know that 76% of customers want to buy sustainable products. Here, what it means sustainable products, it means really a lot. You all know that. You're all from the industry. So vegan lines, in increasing demands. Sourcing of ingredients is really important as well. Anyway, you all probably know that already. 75% of consumers want to use reusable and refillable bottles. That's also quite important. 69% is actually concerned by reduction of carbon emissions. And well, so I want to thank you for following me. As I said, I will send the slides so that you can have a look at everything. And if you have questions, you can just write on the chat and I will answer afterwards. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Alex. We will now try to listen to our Consul General and Country Director message.
I think there's an issue with the sound there, Marina, so we might just have to keep going and see if we can fix that issue as we go along.
Can I say something? You just have to disconnect normal audio and put only the video audio. You have to tick a box in the I think up on the right corner.
It should help at the moment. That's the problem. So.
Okay, thank you.
We'll solve it our end, but we'll keep going with the CTPA exporting to the European Union piece. So Nico.
Yeah. So thanks for going for it, and good afternoon, everyone. Just a second while the slides go up, but I am happy to start off. So while we're doing that, I'll just give you a brief introduction into CTPA and who we are and why we might be able to talk about this topic in a bit of detail. So CTPA is the trade association representing all companies involved in making, supplying and selling cosmetics and personal care products, and acts as the voice for the UK cosmetics industry. So from a trade association perspective, we aim to promote best practice, and we have extensive guidance available on the public side of the website for the wider industry, aiming to understand better the strict regulation that is in place in the UK and the EU for cosmetic products. So if you do go to our website, you'll be able to find a lot of resources there. And today we're focusing specifically on the matter of the EU. And so from our point of view, we've been really involved before the EU exit or before UK left the EU in the progression of the EU legal framework. And our work there hasn't finished. So we are still members of Cosmetics Europe, which is our umbrella association for all of the European Union and now also the UK. And we continue to influence and have our voice heard at an EU level and continue to monitor how things go over there. Next slide, please. So today I'll be giving you a quick overview onto some of the considerations that you have to think about when taking your products into the EU. So we'll start off by thinking quickly about the placing on the market of products. So it's understanding what does that mean, when is your product on the market and when isn't it. Then we'll have a look at the consequence of that, which is product compliance and when that might be required. And then we'll have a look at the specific import requirements, because even though the EU is a common market, where you go in really matters. And in this case, we are focusing on Italy, so we'll be discussing about that in detail. Next slide, please. So we'll get a little bit technical for just a bit as we go over the implications of the regulatory framework. So the first thing that we have to think about is placing and making available in the market. So under the EU, So under the EU cosmetics regulation, placing on the market means when the product first enters the common market, and that is for each individual unit. And then making available in the market is further clarified as supplying the product for distribution, consumption, or use within the internal market in the course of a commercial activity, whether in terms of payment or free of charge. So that's the definition. But what that means in practice is that any commercial activity, for any commercial activity, the product is actually on the market and has to then comply with the requirements, as we will see later. And the commercial activity is clarified there, saying that it's not necessarily just when you import or introduce into the EU to sell it, it's also when it's gifted or when it's aimed at people that are not generally considered as consumers, such as you would have in a trade fair like Cosmoprof. So in this case, even though it's going to be a free sample or a gift, if somebody or a person is going to be putting that product on their skin, they will have placed that product on the market. And where this exclusion applies would be more around, for example, if the product was sent for testing or for research purposes or for R&D, things like that. But even if the product is zero invoice value, even the product is going to be free, it's still being placed on the market. And that is further clarified by an overarching guidance that the EU has, which is called the Blue Guide. The color doesn't mean anything, it's just the way it's called, but it just says that as soon as an imported product clears customs, that product is on the market, and therefore, as we'll see in a minute, will have to comply with the regulations. Slide, please. So once that product is on the market, once you have introduced it, once you're trying to cross customs, what you'll need to do is ensure that the product actually complies with the EU cosmetics regulation. So even if it's going to go into a trade fair setting, even if it's going to be only a sampling exercise, it will still need to comply with the relevant legislation. And I've kind of boxed things here into the main areas that you might have to consider quickly if you are aiming to put your products on the market or introduce your products into Italy in the coming month. So the first part that you'll need to make sure is that you've got that EU responsible person that the EU cosmetics regulation requires, and they will have to have that product information file, a dossier of information about your product, and that safety assessment, the cosmetic product safety report. There's no avoiding this part, it will have to be there. The good thing is, now with digital means, the product information file doesn't have to physically be in Italy, it can be accessed remotely in the UK, but you will still need a representative in the EU to take on the responsibility of the product. The second part, you'll need to make sure that your labeling is actually compliant with the legislation, and that is common to all markets. It's the same labeling compliance that you have for the UK currently. So it shouldn't be too much of a stretch, but you still have to understand that, for example, the name and address will have to be that EURP name and address, whether it's based in Italy or elsewhere. You'll have to consider the ingredient restrictions. So one of the things that happens, and is starting to happen now, is we're seeing a little bit of passive divergence between the UK and the EU. The EU has continued their ingredient restriction processes, and therefore we already have some substances which are banned in the EU, which are not banned in the UK. So you'll just have to make sure that when you are putting your products into the market, or you're taking your products into Italy, that those ingredient restrictions are still taken into consideration. And lastly, you'll have to consider claims as well. The environment for claims is still the same for the UK and the EU. There's been no change in the interpretation, but going through customs usually means that there's somebody actually checking these, and you might be called out if some of your claims are not compliant. And then the final little bucket of compliance that you might want to check or make sure that you have got covered is the notification process, or the placing the product on the CPMP, the Cosmetic Product Notification Portal. So making sure that that step has been completed, and then making sure that you still keep up with your cosmetic vigilance responsibilities. And just to remind you, the cosmetic vigilance is the reporting of serious and desirable effects. So if somebody at that trade fair or that gifting event were to have an adverse reaction, you would have to comply with the legislation there and be able to report that. Next slide, please. So that's complying with the EU regulation broadly and generally. But what happens when we're talking specifically about Italy? So as I mentioned before, where you export your product to matters. That is because different countries have different requirements for the specific process of introducing the product into the market. So if Italy is your first point, and that is where the product is going to be first placed on the market, you will have to comply with some specific rules. So within the cosmetics regulation itself, you're going to have to abide by the language requirements that are detailed in Article 19. So we mentioned before that labeling was important. This is also where labeling is going to become important. There are certain labeling elements which will have to be in Italian, and there's no way of getting around that. It'll just have to be. It is the nominal content, the durability, the precautions for use or any warnings that you have on the product, and the function. So those elements will have to be translated into Italian. The rest doesn't have to be. There's no mandatory Italian translation for the rest, but at least those will have to be covered, and it has to be available for consumers in their own language. If we take that labeling requirements a little bit further, something that is specific to Italy is the labeling of free samples. So for free samples, which I guess in this case is particularly relevant, you'll have to make sure that these are labeled in the Italian translation, which I'm not going to try and pronounce, but it will have to be labeled with a message that says free sample, not for resale. To make sure that those two things are covered, and that message has to be in Italian. Unfortunately, my Italian is not good. So the last bit is the customs clearance procedure, and this is one that you really have to be mindful of. So even though the product complies with the relevant legislation, even though you've done all those processes and made sure that you are compliant, there's still going to be a customs clearance process, and that customs clearance process actually requires the authorities to verify through either physical inspection, document inspection, or through product analysis that the product complies. So when trying to clear customs and we're trying to introduce products into Italy, what you might find is that there is a slight delay, and customs clearance is not necessarily as straightforward. You might get asked questions about your product, you might have to provide additional documentation, or you might have to approve your products to be sent for testing or test them yourself and provide the certificate. Once that process has been cleared, you'll receive the Nullaus Sanitari or the NOS certificate, which is the equivalent of a health certificate, and that gives you the leave to clear customs and continue your process into the market. But that is going to be really an important step to take into account, because it usually introduces severe delays, and it's not as easy as just sending it, clearing customs, and taking it in. You'll need that certificate in order to continue into the market. Next slide, please. So that's the quick tour from me. Our website obviously is there, and just to make sure that you can and further workshop going forward, and having a bit of an in-depth review, and that will shared on the HPFA
unmute.
So thanks very much, Nico. I thought that was really interesting from the CTPA. We'll now hand on to Francesca and Samantha from the organisers of Cosmoprof Bologna. This is a great opportunity to get a first-hand update on the exhibition and also more specifically on the UK Pavilion. I know there will be some people on the call at the moment who are involved with the UK Pavilion. So I look forward to hearing from Francesca and Samantha.
Hello everyone. Thank you, Mike, and thank you for inviting us here today. My name is Samantha and I'm the sales manager of Cosmoprof Bologna. I'll take you on a very quick tour of Cosmoprof in general, and then I'll leave the floor to Francesca, who's in charge of the country pavilions and the UK pavilion. So I'm sure many of you have already had a chance to speak to her. Now, while we wait for the slides to arrive, I would say that at last we're ready for the 53rd edition of the show. It's just about 34 days, I think, today to go. It's been a long time, as you know. So the last edition was the one that was actually the last edition was 2019, because in 2020 the pandemic broke out in Italy just a couple of weeks before the show was supposed to happen. So it's been a very long time, and we really can't wait to see you at the show. Hope the same is for you. Now we will start on the 28th of April with the halls that traditionally open their doors on Thursday. So that is Cosmopack, where to stop by to find nice solutions for applicators, packaging, machinery, full service solutions, and everything that you might need for your production. On the same day, we also start with the Cosmo Perfumery and Toiletries and the country pavilion. So with you as well, with those of you who are already on board for the UK pavilion. And then the next day on Friday, it will be the halls of the hair, beauty and salon and nail sectors to kick off. Now, for those of you who don't know, we, besides Cosmoprof Bologna, we also organize the other Cosmoprofs in the world. So we have quite a few nice editions around the world. We're not going to dwell on this topic on this occasion, but in case you might need some information, just drop us a line. Now, I'm sure that what you might be wondering is where are we today with Cosmoprof? Now, as of today, we have 2,700 confirmed exhibitors from 70 countries. I'm not sure whether we're going to see the slides. However, I'll just describe you to them, and then you will receive everything by email, that's for sure. So it's 2,700 exhibitors from 70 countries. I would say it's a rather good number, considering you know that in the pre-pandemic era we had it's a different file. However, let me go on meanwhile. So in 2020, sorry, we were supposed to have 3,000 exhibitors. So as of today, we're talking about 2,700. The difference is not that much. Who's missing? Well, basically, it's China. It's the Chinese guys who will not be there, and this is due to their very strict 3-week quarantine policy that they have to face when they get back to the country. So rather than having the usual big Chinese and Taiwanese pavilions, this year we will have just about 30 exhibitors from China. And then what about Russia and Ukraine? Until just about a month ago, we had 3 country pavilions, 2 from Russia and 1 from Ukraine, with 3 different organizers. As you can imagine, for obvious reasons, this is not going to be possible. They have cancelled, even though from Ukraine we might have a few companies, very tough. So they're saying that they do need to get to the show and to be able to continue doing business. So we're just waiting for their final feedback, but we might be able to see a few Ukrainian guys at the show. Now, in one of the slides that you will see later on, you can see the whole map. This is just to visualize how big the show is and how actually it is just as big as you were used to knowing it, in case you've already been there. So the show takes up the whole of the fairground of Bologna, plus a few temporary pavilions. Now, Hall 19, which is where the UK pavilion is located, is very close to the entrance. So once you enter the show from the main entrance, which is Piazza Costituzione entrance, Hall 19 is just there. It's just on the left-hand side, and I think this is very good because the show itself is huge. So it will not really be difficult for buyers and operators to enter the show and to see you, not having to walk 4 miles and miles. Compared to 2019 and what was supposed to be 2020, we have a couple new areas this year. So one is the beauty tech area, which is located at the service center, which is the heart, where everyone actually walks past in the exhibition center. It's an area dedicated to some very young and innovative startups and also to other companies with a very strong technological connotation. The other new area is called Business Solutions Village, and as the name says, it will display services in general, from marketing to digital services and creative media. So this is also something that, on top of the supply chain that you find in the Cosmoprof sector, might give you maybe some nice solutions and nice ideas for your business. Then again, something which I guess most of you are wondering about is where are we at with regarding visitors and buyers. Now, as of today, we have visitors and buyers from 80 countries. Now, typically, this digit goes up, actually skyrockets in the 2 weeks before the show. This is what happens every year. So what we're seeing now is pretty much in line with what has been going on with all our edition. Again, what should we expect? We should expect not to see many Chinese, not Russian or Ukrainian guys. We were just taking a look at the digits we had in 2019, and Russian operators accounted for 3% of the total foreign visitors, whereas Ukrainians were counted up to 1.5% of the total of our foreign visitors. Now, I'm sure that you will be able to meet with many new buyers and visitors. This is what we have been seeing in the not just in the show we did last September, but in all the events that took place throughout the past 2 years. The market has been evolving a lot. So for maybe old customers that you won't be able to meet, I'm sure you will have the chance to see many new players who have come as new on the market. Now, we also have an in-house office, our incoming department, which is in charge of the hosted buyers program. What is this program? Now, it aims to select some of the most important international top buyers and to host them at the show. We actually involve also exhibitors in this search for those nice international buyers. So maybe some of you, I guess, were contacted in the past few weeks in order to say whether they wanted us to invite some buyers on their behalf. This year, part of the programs, the hosted buyers programs focus will be specifically Kuwait, Qatar, and Dubai. As I guess some of you already know, and if you don't, this is something really important. You can already get in touch with the buyers today itself. We have a very nice, easy platform called Cosmoprof My Match, which is already open, as I said, where you can select buyers according to a series of filters, and you can ask them to arrange a meeting at the show. So the meetings will eventually take place at the show, not digitally. But I mean, if you also want to exchange with the buyer, let's say your contact details, of course, you're free to get in touch with them over the phone or email beforehand. Using this platform is easy, as I was saying, and I guess that in the past couple of years we have, you know, all of us have become pretty much used to taking as much advantage as possible of such digital tools. It is also time consuming, it is demanding, it takes up time to look for the right buyers and to select them and to ask for meetings, and if they don't reply, to maybe find some other buyers. But something which I will never get tired of saying is that the more you prepare your participation for the show, the more time you dedicate beforehand, before going to the show, the bigger your return on investment will be. So this is a suggestion that I would really like to give to all of you. Then, as you can imagine, it's not just the hosted buyers that we work on, that we work with. We have a very wide community that revolves around Cosmoprof. So our website is visited by about 1 million unique viewers, and there are quite a few 100,000 of users that see our posts. We have a very active social media department that promotes our exhibitors through quite a lot of posts. So again, you're pretty much encouraged to upload as much material as possible in your reserved area, so that our colleagues from the social media department can take advantage of it, can use it, and can publish it. Now, as it happens with every B2B exhibition, exhibitors like you come to Bologna definitely in order to meet with current or also new customers, but with Cosmoprof being the leading and the most comprehensive event of the beauty industry, it's also the right place for you to get up to date and to get to know all of the latest trends. So we have quite a few moments that you might be interested in, like the Cosmo Talk series. The Cosmo Talk series is made up of 10 different events from Thursday until Saturday, so 3 days with very interesting topics like metaverse and quite a variety of topics. Whereas another project that we have is called Cosmo on Stage, which runs Sunday and Monday, and is made up of 14 events dedicated to the professional hair and beauty and spa sectors. So we do also have, and this is, I guess, the last that I can say, because then I will leave the floor to Francesca. We also have some special projects that we're carrying out this year. For example, Cosmo Factory, which is located in Hall 19, so very convenient, very close to the UK Pavilion, which is where you will be able to see live the whole production process of a cosmetic product. Then we have Cosmo Trends, and I guess in this case the name says it all. It's the report on the latest trends of the market. We have On Hair, which is a special live event with hair shows, 18 precisely hair shows taking place Sunday and Monday in an arena which can host up to 6,000, even 7,000 people. And the last, I would say, is also the United Barbers Show, which is in Hall 35 and which is dedicated to the barber sector with stage training and live performances. So I guess this is all that I can say. Of course, I'm here for any queries you might have, but I guess that the most interesting part for you will start now with Francesca. She will take you on a ride about the UK pavilion. She's in charge of all the country pavilions at Cosmoprof, and especially the UK pavilion.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being in here. Now let's see if we can have the presentation. Otherwise, I will go on anyway. So as Samantha was mentioning, I'm the key account here at Cosmoprof for the majority of the country pavilions and the UK pavilion specifically. So as also Samantha mentioned, Cosmoprof is recognized worldwide as an international hub, and this is true thanks for the internationality both of visitors on one side and exhibitors on the other. And this is true also above all thanks to the presence of the country pavilions, which this year will be 26. So given their importance, the country pavilion will be listed not only in the exhibitor list, but they will benefit also from the visibility that is given through a specific tab, which within our website, so they can like have extra visibility with regards, to the exhibitors that are attending within the country pavilions. Most specifically, coming to the UK pavilion, as Samantha was mentioning, it is located in the Hall 19 together with the USA participation, and the Hall 19 itself is strategically, connected within the fairground because it is very close to the entrances. I mean, the main entrance at Cosmoprof, which is the Piazza Costituzione, and it is very close to the service center. Within the UK pavilion, all the exhibitors will benefit from a hospitality hub or lounge where they can have meetings with their clients while offering them like soft drinks, a glass of wine, some snacks, so you can, take advantage of this opportunity. There will be also some offices and a storage room for you to use. And at the entrances on the right side of the hall, there will be a reception and also a prayer room. Every day you will benefit from lunch boxes. Once we are closer to the, let's say, beginning of the event, I would suggest maybe beginning of April, we will send out like an email to all of you so that you can choose the menus that you would like to have every day for your lunch boxes. And in addition to these, we have designed some specific benefits for all of you, both in terms of promotion, online and offline, but also additional services like an on-site coordinator. Her name is Julia. We will send out the details later on, and she will be on site for all your needs from the 27th of April until the 1st of May. In addition to this, you will also benefit from a dedicated Wi-Fi and also an interpreter service on shared basis. So for those of you who are not exhibiting yet, if you are interested in evaluating maybe a small space, we still have just a couple of availabilities. So if you would like just to have an idea of costs, location and everything, you can send me an email and I will be glad to get in touch with you. Now coming back to those who are already exhibitors, the first thing that you have to do when you, are on board of Cosmoprof is checking your reserved area, because over there you will find everything that you may need to be ready for Cosmoprof. So all the details, invoices, technical floor plans, badges, everything. Now I wanted to go through a little bit some of the steps that you can, find in the reserved area. So it is a little bit difficult maybe for you to have an idea. I'll go quite quickly because later on we will share the presentation so that you can see everything, and in case of doubt, of course, you can get in touch with me at any time. So the first thing that I would recommend to do is completing the digital directory. The deadline is the 28th of March, so we are quite close. So please go ahead within your reserved area and complete everything, because the details that you insert over there will be published in the printed catalog and also will be copied in the Cosmoprof My Match platform. So they are very important for you to have like a good profile and find, suitable buyers and visitors. As also Samantha was mentioning before, it is very important to complete the digital directory because we give you the possibility to highlight like one hero product or launch product. And from time to time, we publish some galleries within our social medias dedicated exactly on new companies with new products. So you might get this extra visibility totally free of charge. So please make sure that you complete also this information. Within the reserved area, you also have the possibility to send out discount codes to your clients, which will guarantee like a 40% discount on the ticket, on the cost of the ticket, or either you can buy prepaid tickets, like a group of tickets, and then you can send them to your clients totally free of charge. Again, in the reserved area, you can download the badges, as I was mentioning before. Each of you will have a number of badges which is based on the square meters that you have within the event, whereas all of you will have, regardless of the square meters, 2 VIP passes, which allow multiple entries every day within the venue, and 1 park. Again, within the reserved area, you can take a look at the buffet section, which is very important because it's like our e-commerce. So if you need any additional service for your participation, that is the place where you have to have a look and where you can buy additional services. But this is also the place where you have to register both staff and vehicles during the setting up days and also dismantling days, because I remind you that the exhibitor passes are valid only during the show days, whereas during the setup you have to have these, let's say, specific passes that are valid only during the setting up. So it's really, really important that you go over there and you register everything. As the CTPA was mentioning before, this year you have some new procedures while shipping products to Italy for Cosmoprof. So you might have to undergo the temporary importation. In case you need any help on that, you can either ask us, or I'm sure that the freight forwarder might help you, or even the CTPA, as they were saying before. And in addition, one of the tools that we have and that we give totally free of charge to our exhibitors, and that is really, really useful, as also Samantha was mentioning, is the Cosmoprof My Match. That is our platform for the matchmaking. So it is very important that you complete your profile like 100% with all the information that you think might be useful for a visitor to understand exactly who you are, what you do, what your products are, etc. And with this platform, you have the possibility to pre-arrange meetings that can be held and performed during the event. So you will have like 1 main team member, but you can also have the possibility to add up to 9 additional team members. So each of you will have like a personalized agenda, and you can get in touch with different buyers and plan different meetings. We also have some contests like the Cosmoprof Awards and the Cosmo Trends. They can give you extra visibility because the winners will be the winners of the Cosmoprof Awards will be announced on the 29th of April during the awards ceremony at the venue. They will, of course, receive a prize. They will be featured in an installation on site, and they will benefit from some extra visibility on our social medias and website. Whereas for the Cosmo Trends, you can enroll up to end of March, more or less the 28th of March. And we have developed this project in collaboration with Beauty Streams. This project is totally free of charge, so I would suggest to try and enroll your product so that you might, get the chance to be featured and have this extra visibility. More in general, we have plenty of advertising opportunities upon payment. So in case you have some extra budget and you would like to enhance your presence at Cosmoprof, you can get in touch with me and maybe we can check if we have something suitable for you. And then last but not least, the best probably slide is the slide with all the deadlines that you have to meet. It's quite a few, so please make sure that you take a look at the presentation at the end and that you meet all of the deadlines. And in case you have any question, I'm at your disposal here and during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So thanks a lot for your attention.
Thanks very much, Francesca. Thank you, Samantha. As Francesca said, the slides will be available on the HBSA website. So that's hbsa.co.uk. And alongside the slides, there'll also be the recording of Catriona Graham's address as the British consul out in Italy. So my piece is going to be about exhibiting at Cosmoprof, and hopefully the slides will work. I think it's important to say that I've been in contact with a number of different exhibitors from Cosmoprof from recent years, and a number of them have been in the British Pavilion, and they've all given some very positive feedback about the exhibition. So I'll look at an overview, some essential information, first impressions of the exhibition, have a quick look at who the visitors are, and also have a checklist before the exhibition, give you some ideas and some tips about planning your booth, a few ideas around lead generation and data capture, and then importantly to try and review and measure how successful you've been. So I think, as Samantha said, there are over 2,700 exhibitors, there are 70 countries represented in 26 country pavilions. So that is your audience. So I think exhibiting is really about the sum of the parts. It's not just about one simple act or one element that you're going to be doing. So exhibiting, you know, it's important to look at all the different elements of exhibiting in order to make the best of the visitor base. The setup and breakdown days are the 26th and 27th of April, and the breakdown starts on the 1st of May. But please be aware that on the breakdown, you can only remove samples from your stand between 6 o'clock and midnight. It's important to read the exhibitor manual. I can't stress that enough. There'll be lots of information in the exhibitor manual that should answer most of your questions. And also visit the Bologna, the Cosmoprof Bologna website. Both the visitor and exhibitor sections are really useful. Also be aware that on the 27th, during the setup, exhibitors can display their products, and vans under 3.5 tons will be allowed into the Bologna Fiera fairground. Anything over 3.5 tons won't be allowed into the exhibition area. Where the couriers are not allowed into the exhibition halls. So with the official freight forwarder, goods can go directly to your stand, but couriers must use the service, the storage service area, which is operated by Bologna Fiera. Your single point of contact will be Francesca. Francesca's details are on the previous slide, but I'll put these slides up on the HBSA website so you'll have them. In terms of additional services, again, the single point of contact is Francesca. So for audio visual, for catering, also for rebooking your stand. If you want to talk about any of those, I suggest you speak to Francesca. And if you need any additional elements for your booth, if you want flowers, if you need hospitality, or you need logistics, etc., you need to visit bfair.eu. Graphics this year are being organised by Hanoto, and Hanoto, their email address is on the site there. The deadline for the graphics is the end of this month. So again, there's not that much time, but do get in contact with Hanoto for any graphics. Also, the Association of Exhibition Organisers in the UK have been sending out press releases about scams that are going on. So bogus companies are contacting exhibitors at various exhibitions, and they're claiming to be official suppliers to the shows. There's a number of companies that are on the screen here which have been doing that. So just be sure that you are being contacted, you are contracting yourself to official contractors for Cosmoprof Bologna. Also, suggest you check the COVID-19 requirements. Partly, getting into Italy, then you have to get into the exhibition centre itself and then come back to the UK. So the up-to-date policy is a link on the slide here for the exhibition, but just make sure that you're up to date with the latest in Italy. Currently, they're tracking about 70,000 cases a day, which is about 40% of the peak numbers. So it is getting better, and thankfully, a lot fewer hospital admissions. So first impressions of Cosmoprof Bologna, it's busy. Bologna city, population of about 400,000 will go up to in the region of 650,000 people. The exhibition centre itself is big, it's spread out, and it can be busy. So I would suggest allow plenty of time. Orientate yourself between the exhibition halls so you know where everything is. There are sometimes queues for food, coffees, taxis might take a bit longer than expected, buses are crowded. And also be aware that if you've got meetings and you're having impromptu conversations, they can steal your time. If you need to get somewhere, you just need to allow plenty of time to get there. The exhibition catalogue is a must, so as Francesca was saying, make sure that you're listed in that. And also signposting at the venue arguably could be a bit better, so pay attention to where you're going. With Bologna itself being busy, I suggest making dinner reservations in advance, and hotel accommodation again is worth booking up as soon as you can. The accommodation is expensive and it does book out early. One of the exhibitors I spoke to made a good point and said to me that when you get to the airport in the UK and there's a plane going to Bologna, that's your networking opportunities start then. So carry business cards with you at all times and wear comfortable shoes because there'll be quite a lot of walking involved. So from the visitor profile from the 2019 edition, there was over 250,000 visitors from 154 countries, and the breakdown of the countries are on the screen. So 60% from Europe, 90% Asia, 60% from the Americas. And the business is really, there's a sort of equal split between manufacturers, distributors and wholesalers. So although we know it's going to be less crowded this year with fewer exhibitors and probably fewer visitors, the businesses are likely to be tracking in the same kind of percentages. So that's your audience. So my question is then, what are your opportunities? Why are you exhibiting? What are you trying to do? What are your key objectives? Have you agreed what it is that you want to do before the event, during the event and after the event? Then how will you measure that success once the show stops? So I suggest at the beginning, really try and identify your elevator pitch. So what is your point as a business? What's your point for being at Cosmoprof Bologna? And why should I care? So as a visitor, if I come to your stand, why should I care? So look at your elevator pitch. Well, why is your product or service in the marketplace? What are the features and benefits and statistics around your product or your service? And also, what's your call to action? What do you want me to do? If I come to your stand, what is it you want me to do? Your stand is arguably your biggest asset, and less is often more. So present your product and service in an inviting way. Ensure that your stand is visually attractive, not too busy. So think about the balance between the space you've got, the furniture you've got, and the graphics that you've got. I'd even suggest mapping out the footprint of your stand somewhere in your office, just to make sure you understand the size of the space you'll be working in. Keep your brand and your brand identity and messaging consistent, not just on the stand, but also in any marketing activity that you do. In terms of your signage, don't bombard people. There are 2,700 exhibitors there. You want your stand to stand out from the crowd. So in your signage, just make sure that you're very clear about what you want. So for example, if we're looking for distributors, then say so. In terms of the orientation of your stand, work out the likely traffic flow and set up your stand accordingly with sort of visuals and products facing the footfall direction. And also be careful about exaggerating your claims, in terms of your products and your services. You've probably got about 2 minutes on average per conversation, so just be clear and consistent. So before the exhibition, in terms of your aims and objectives, are you looking to increase your brand awareness, your lead generation? Are you trying to make all sales and collect orders at the show? Do you want to talk to existing customers? Do you want to find new distributors or wholesalers who are looking for retail customers? It could be a number of those, but I'd say try and have clear objectives. So, is it a success if you have 3 follow-up meetings that you've organised during each day? Is it a success if you make 12 appointments during the day to see people? Is it a success if you see 5, 10, 15 existing clients? Or when you leave the show, if you've got a database of 100 qualified leads, would you view that as being a success? It's really important to set those objectives. Then have a plan for your booth. How are you going to arrange your booth? Where are you going to put your products? How are you going to get people to move around your booth if you're inviting them on? Do you have storage facilities? How much furniture have you got? Audio visual. All the research says that audio visual interaction is probably one of the best things that you can do. Have information on products and services and make sure you've got your marketing material ready to go. Have some giveaways or run a competition to attract people. Train your staff. Make sure your staff know about your products and services. Make sure they know what the call to action should be. And in advance, advertise your presence. So make sure you advertise the fact that you're going to be there. And often it's a good idea to have a branded name badge, or even have a sort of team outfit that you might want to consider, team polo shirts or something. So agree a process with a call to action and make sure that you set up appointments on the day. Then at the end of the show, or at the end of each day, agree a way to measure success. So is your success going to be based on the number of leads you've got, the number of orders you've got, or some other metric? Just make sure that you understand and agree what those are. Make notes from conversations and meetings, particularly if they're important, so you don't forget at the end of each day who you spoke to. Simply collecting a business card isn't really a lead. It's a lead in some ways, but it's not really qualified. So you don't know whether that person is a good or a bad. And at the end of the day, score your leads, review them, agree a plan of action for each. Follow up. I suggest you follow up on them quickly. So before the meeting, before the event, set up meetings, target prospective companies and prospective buyers, set up the meetings beforehand, contact existing clients as well and make sure they know you're going to be there. And as I said before, make sure you've got a listing in the exhibitor catalogue. There's also the opportunity to join the Cosmoprof Buyer program, which is a good matchmaking service if you're interested in that. So in terms of advertising your presence, include your booth number on advertising and your email signature. Use the Cosmoprof hashtag on all your social media posts and use the trade press. Write a press release, drop a press release in the press office at the show. Email your marketing, your email database, and let them know you're going to be there, and also advertise the fact that you'll be at the exhibition on site. As I think Francesca and Samantha mentioned, there's Cosmo Trends and also the Cosmoprof Awards, which are certainly worth looking at and are on the Cosmoprof Bologna website. And also, if you look at the picture on the right, prioritise how you're going to deal with multiple visitors. So a lot of people come up to your stand at one point. How are you going to deal with them? Some might be appointments, some might just be walk-ups. So just try not to waste too much time with anyone who is a tire kicker. So how's your booth working? Create a flow on your stand. So if there are people sitting having meetings, if there are people standing and you're talking to visitors who walk up to your stand, how are you going to deal with them? If there are people sitting down, where are you going to put them if you want to have a meeting? And if you're showing samples, is the area large enough to really explain what your samples are about? Have plenty of promotional literature and make sure that everyone is well presented and knows about the products and services. I suggest you network with everybody, including other exhibitors and your competitors. You never know where the next lead is going to come from. And if you can, have samples or giveaways of bags. This lady here is carrying a bag and she's going to be walking around the exhibition promoting your goods or services. In terms of body language, which is the next thing, you do pass a lot of stands with people just slouched on chairs, scrolling on their phones, looking at their computer. They're not standing up looking for business and welcoming you onto the stand because they're doing something else. So make sure that your booth is manned, and if it is manned, make sure that everyone's looking professional and ready to talk to visitors and delegates. And also off the stand, network, research any new trends, look at new products, and also look at what your competitors are doing. Also, at the end of each day, be prepared to move things around. So if the traffic flow isn't working, then be prepared to change that. In terms of qualifying your leads, I think it's really important to ask relevant questions. So what does their company do? Are they buying? Are they in the market to buy products like yours? Are they a buyer for the company, etc.? You want qualified leads so you know who you're talking to. You could have an online form or collect business cards. And perhaps if you have an online form, you could offer some value-added incentive or data that they could access from your website if they leave you their details. Interactive displays, as I mentioned, they rate very highly in all the research. So if you've got anything interactive on a screen, then eye tracking research suggests that the visitors are really drawn to that. And as much as you can, engage as many senses. So if you've got some food to give away, if you've got anything to make your stand smell nice, if you can make it look visually attractive, etc., suggest you do that. And also run competitions and give away prizes, but just give away freebies, so people really enjoy that. Then at the end of the day, I suggest you debrief at the stand at the closing time of each day. Don't leave it till after the exhibition, because you probably won't remember everyone that visited your stand. So just have a quick debrief at the end of the day, what worked well and what could be improved. Sense check your objectives. Is there anything that you could do to change the flow of traffic or how you capture the data? And then also make sure that your list of leads are ranked. So if they've got buying authority, they're a lead, they're looking to make an immediate purchase, I put them down as a hot lead. They're looking to purchase but not right away, a warm lead. And if they're not looking to purchase at all, they're a cold lead. And perhaps you can measure that kind of success and put an estimated value on that. So if you get, say, 20 qualified hot leads during the day, times your average, sales value, that might give you a projected revenue from the show. But also be aware that lots and lots of sales and leads that aren't immediately active at the show might contact you 3 months later or 6 months later. So they're still worth capturing and following up. In quick summary, I'd say plan your stand, plan it carefully and set some objectives, organise your deadlines, so make sure that the forms and passes, freight, hotels, dinner reservations are all sorted out. Advertise your presence beforehand, invite people to meet you on your stand, and set up meetings, advertise your presence, obviously, qualify your leads, network with everyone, follow up on your leads, and then look at measuring your success. And on the right hand side here, we've just got a few quotes from people who've visited before. Found the UK pavilion of real benefit. The meeting rooms are great and invaluable. Large retailers came. It can be busy, so but some exhibitors definitely picked up new distributors in passing visitors. Another one said book meetings in advance and try not to cancel or delay them, because things do get knocked on. People do tend to be very busy. The Fieras are quite big. And if you can afford it, stay in Bologna, because the networking opportunities in the evening are definitely quite good. So That's it from me. Thank you very much for your time. If you've got any questions, please put them in the chat. And we'll now hand on to Stuart Whitehill, who will give you some information for tips and tricks for visitors visiting.
Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm conscious of the time, so I'm going to probably rattle through my slides if Jeffrey can keep up. But yeah, I mean, what I'm going to be talking about very quickly about really, and I think this is applying to both exhibitors and visitors, is it's all about the preparation. The more that you put in before you go out to the show, the more you will ultimately get from it. To give you some sort of perspective about the size of Bologna Fairground, if you've been to the NEC, which I'm sure most of you have, that's about 200, maybe just over 200,000 square meters. Bologna is nearly double that, about 375, 380,000 square meters. So it gives you some indication of the size of the show and how important it is that you do your planning beforehand. So where are you going to start? Quite obviously, you're going to go straight to the exhibitors, the show website. It's very clear, it's very ordered, and from a visitor perspective, I urge you to register as a visitor. This will help with your planning of the event. It will allow you to see who's there. It will allow you to save those exhibitors who you want to see, and it will open up more opportunity to you. So if the slides, right, don't worry. Okay, I've got my slides here, so I can talk you through. So once you get onto the organiser's website, you'll see in the top right-hand corner where you can register as a visitor. Once you've done that, it will ask you for some basic information, nothing too tedious and difficult, but it does allow the organiser then to be able to tailor anything of interest to you. It will allow you then to look at the exhibitor directory. From here is really where all the content and the exhibitor list you'll find easily accessible with a filtering of countries, sectors, even pavilions, allowing you to build up a profile of the companies that you want to go and see. Along with a map, you can then plan your route and your trip accordingly. Do spend some time doing this, as I pointed out, as Mike's mentioned, that it is a big show, and you're going to be sort of wanting to maximise your time at the show and making use of every available hour you've got there. So please look at the exhibitor directory, see who's there, see who you want to see, and make that sort of key to your initial preparation. Been mentioned by Samantha and obviously by Mike about the My Match. Again, this is an opportunity for you to register with the organisers, to the sort of companies that you want to be seeing. This will allow you to make appointments. This will allow you to sort of see who's there, and obviously, you can save your favourites. You can tailor-made meetings on the agenda. It has advanced search filters, and it's an all-inclusive, inclusive networking platform for you. Also, there is the incoming buyer service, which is a new personal dedicated service for you, where you can receive information on the exhibiting companies, suitable business services, and this has a dedicated team at your disposal. And again, you go on to register and it allows you to input your information, and this will all be tailored for you. It's been mentioned again with the educational events and special projects. Cosmo Talks, 3 days of seminars with most prestigious trend agencies, qualified magazines and international opinion leaders. There is the Onstage, Cosmo Onstage, which is dedicated to the latest trends of the professional beauty and hair sectors. And new for 2022 is Masterclass, a high-level training course curated by universities and training institutions. Along with that, you've got World Massage Meeting, which welcomes beauticians, masseurs and holistic operators for 4 days of training and updating on the latest innovative body techniques. So again, look at all of this. What's of interest to you as a visitor? Make the most of it. It's all there for you if you want to. The special projects, again, I won't go over it all again, but you've got things like the Cosmo Factory, Cosmo Trends on Hair, Beauty Tech, the Cosmo Awards and the United Barbers Show, all of which may well be of interest to you. I'm sure there's going to be something of interest to you at that part of the show. Just moving on then to getting there, travel and accommodation, you can't see at the moment, but there are direct flights from the UK, but only from London and Heathrow and Stansted. There are some direct flights from Gatwick, Luton, Manchester, Edinburgh, but those are quite strange, mainly involving return flights, not going out to Bologna, which doesn't help you. But do consider connecting flights. I'm going via Frankfurt. You can also go via places like Schiphol in Amsterdam. So do take a good look at those. You could even get the flights to Milan and maybe get a train down from Milan. Accommodation, like mentioned, Bologna can be expensive. I'm actually staying in Modena, which is about half an hour away on the train, but the trains are reliable and also very reasonable. In terms of accommodation, the show organisers on their website will have a thing called the Bologna Welcome Portal, which will give you some help and advice on where to stay, but also look at things like Expedia, Trivago, and even Airbnb, because I'm sure that they will also be able to help you there. Moving on to my last slide, which again, a bit of the elephant in the room really about the COVID guidelines. And this is a slide which I've done and has already been changed on my way here today and may well change before the show. So as always, and as Boris Johnson would say here, if he's here now, just check on the latest government advice before you travel. But as it stands at the moment, to go into Italy, you need to complete the EU PLA passenger locator form, have proof of the EU recognised vaccine, which for us is with the UK NHS app. If you've got your vaccine on there, that will be perfectly good and accepted. But do check when you had your booster, because if you had it before the 20th of October, you will need to see what the guidelines are when you travel, because it may be 6 months after the booster that you want to go out into Italy. So you will need to check on that, whether or not you need to have any testing done. But again, things are changing, things are getting easier. So we are hoping that that is going to be something which may not be a major issue when at the time the show takes place. At the moment, FFP2 masks are required on public transport. For those of you who don't know what they are, if you Google it, you'll see that they're the pointy ones that you see some people wearing. So those would be needed on public transport, but that would be the only place that you need that type of mask. Into the exhibition itself, again, at the moment, you'd need the EU recognised vaccine, which is what they call the reinforced or super green pass. And that would be, or you need to have the recovery certificate. You would need, if you don't have either of those, you could go in with a negative PCR test, but that would need to be done 72 hours before you go to the show, or a 48 hours if it's a lateral flow test. There are some testing hubs at the fairground, but you need obviously to do that before you got there for this particular, as it stands at the moment, but that may well change. Finally, going back to the UK, well, there are no rules at the moment. There's no form required, there's no test required, so you're okay getting back into the UK. But as I've said earlier, please check first. And that really is it. So I want to just release to say, I hope to see you out there. If you do get out to the show, please come and visit the UK Pavilion. I shall be there, Mike will be there along with everyone else in the room. And we hope to see you and wish you all who do come a successful Cosmoprof Bologna.
Thanks, Stuart. We just got, I know we've run over time a little bit, so we've got a couple of questions which hopefully we can answer. The figures, we've got one question from Kim. The figures that Alex was mentioning were related primarily to Italy and the Italian market rather than the whole of Europe, I believe. There was one question for Nico about the CTPA and whether the CTPA includes supplements.
We don't cover food supplements. We only cover anything that goes in the external parts of the body, but there is an association that does. The HFMA, the Health Food Manufacturers Association, might be able to have some more information on food supplements.
For a few technical issues. We've got another question here saying, how do we complete the Cosmoprof match? It is in Italian and we can't understand it. I can't see England or Britain on the list of countries. Maybe Francesca or Samantha could answer that one.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear you very well, but did you mention the Cosmoprof My Match or the reserved area?
Yeah, no, the Cosmoprof My Match, it's just the language, whether it's there's an English version of it?
Well, we do have the English version also, so it is quite strange if they see only the Italian one. So if they would like to send me an email, maybe with a screen of what they see, I would double check internally, like with the IT department, to check if we have a kind of bug or similar.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Francesca. Okay, I think that's probably it. So just check if there are any more questions. A couple of technical hitches, but all the presentations will be on the HPSA website, hpsa.co.uk, along with Catriona Graham's recording, which we missed. One other question saying, is there a lead generation capture system included? So is there a scanner at all?
No, I've checked on that, Carol.
No,
yeah, I did check.
We don't think there's a scanner to scan the badges. Apologies for that, Carol. And how do we make sure our stock gets to us by using freight company, GBH? So if you use the official freight forwarder, the stock can get to your stand directly. If you use a courier, then it will have to go into storage via Bologna Fiera. So use the official freight forwarder is the answer to that. And the other question is, for those in the DRT pavilion, do we need to bring in anything other than samples and a video for the screens?
That might be directed at me because I'm looking after the DIT stand. So you can bring in some samples, and I mean some, not a pallet. Yes, we will be I will be contacting each of you who are on the DIT pods with regards to what I'll need from you for the videos if you are having the screen. But those of you who've signed up for the pod, I am going to be getting in touch with you next week with regards to what I need from a graphic perspective, and also just confirming about samples and screens.
David asked, will the absence of foreign language skills on our stand be a barrier to business? I think most of the business is conducted in English, but on the UK pavilion stand, there might be translators, I think. There are translators on the UK pavilion stand, so that you can always make use of that. Okay. Or you can use Google Translators, as somebody also mentioned. So I think that's it. Thank you. Sorry we ran over time. Apologies for the technical issues, but thank you very much for joining, everybody. And if you've got any questions, there'll be contact details on the HPSA website for you. Thank you and goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bologna.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. See you at Cosmoprof. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And